KULR stock is making moves, and we called it live this morning before the breakout. Did you know that we're already up from 6:30 a.m. this morning? We're up $94. Don't miss the next live trading session. I trade live every morning in our community, and lifetime access is closing soon. So if you want to watch me trade every single day, lifetime access is closing. Second link in the description. Get it before it's gone. Let's take a look here. So KULR stock has been on a run. They also have some contracts with Navy. They have contracts with Army, as well as NASA, Lockheed Martin, and that SpaceX rideshare mission that's coming up. Now, when you look at this trend, it's kind of what we could identify, right? It looks like it's on this downtrend. And this is kind of how most people view the stocks movement, right? I would say this is pretty accurate for kind of a bear, and that you're seeing it try to break above this 200-day moving average, this green line. It's like not quite making it, and you're like, maybe it will make it, maybe it won't. We don't really know. And it looks kind of bearish, like maybe it's about to sell down. That's one way of looking at KULR stock that I would say most people are looking at KULR stock that way. Now, there's three things that we look at when we're identifying a good deal in the market. The first thing is the overall market. The space industry is growing fast, and one of the best times to look at the space industry is right here in 2025, because you got SpaceX, you got Rocket Lab, you got Blue Origin, of course. Some of these big companies are starting to make really great advancements, launching satellites all the time, and KULR stocks in the SpaceX rideshare mission of 2026. So they provide battery tech to these space companies for their satellites, for their onboard battery systems that can withstand extreme temperatures, because they're made up of carbon composite materials that are proprietary to KULR. So when you take a look at the stock, this is one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is a little bit more bullish, right? So this isn't a trend that's been, overall you have a little bit of a trend there, but the real trend that I'm kind of looking at here is just starting to develop. And so the second piece we look at is the analysis, and that comes down to the technicals, the news, and the financials. And the technicals here, again, struggling to break above that 200-day moving average, but starting to show signs of bullish momentum. And this is actually the trend that I'm kind of actually identifying here. This is the way that I see it, at least, is this right here, this movement upwards. Some people might see this and say, yeah, it's about to sell down. I see this, and I actually see something along the lines of this right here. So this level here, like that's kind of what I see. I started to see a little bit of momentum. It sold down, of course, but now the support, something like this. You guys kind of see that? So I'm starting to see this trend develop. And what I'm looking at here is actually, some people might say this isn't the way to look at it. And I understand that. One thing that's led to us to be able to make this $100 trade, or to have gains consistently in the markets, is seeing things that maybe a lot of people aren't looking at. I think KULR stock could make this move. And this is a trend that would be about 30% increase. It might take longer. It might not all happen. In fact, it might still retest down to here around $1.50 before continuing up. But we have this trend that's starting to develop. It's kind of swinging. The 200-day moving average is swooping in, and I can see this level being reached. So we're going to be watching it really closely. Right now in the near term, looks like it pushed up about 7% today. So that's a nice swing. We bought right down here, kind of anticipation of this trend. So far, it's going well, and we'll see if it continues. Now, that's how the technicals look, right? There's an opportunity there if it continues. But again, there's also that overall widespread view that people are saying, hey, it looks like it's getting rejected. Now, before we get into the financials, this kind of overlaps into the financials actually, is KULR stock allocates 90% of their cash into Bitcoin. So if you don't know, Bitcoin has had a pretty big pullback as well. So if you take a look here, you can see Bitcoin has this pullback, and it looks like, we have some trends kind of mapped out here. Let's take a look. You see this trend? It's actually trending upward. You see this this Bitcoin trend, and it kind of looks similar to what we see here. So some people, again, might be looking at Bitcoin right now and say the same thing, which is it looks like it's just going to be bearish and get rejected here and probably continue down. And I understand that. But once again, it's at the 200-day moving average. It's starting to potentially recover. Now, if Bitcoin recovers, does it affect KULR stock? I think it will impact the investor sentiment. Is it correlated? No. Is it going to be price for price, percent for percent correlation and showing exactly the same movements as KULR stock? No, not at all. But investors know that KULR stock has 90% of their cash, about $60 million, allocated into Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin's continuing up, or let's say it starts to make the trend that, again, we're kind of identifying here, which would be right here. This is the trend. This is the support or the 200-day moving average. And this is the info line. So if it does happen here that this trend continues, it's about a 30% increase, which their average purchase price is right here around 97,000. So they're still down a little bit, but potentially could be about a 10% increase on their money if it gets up to there, which would be about $6 million in extra cash or extra value added to their financials. So you gotta consider it, and that's something that we're looking at with the financials, as well as the technicals. So it looks similar in pattern there. So the other thing, KULR stock, when we look at the indicators and we consider the financials, they didn't have the beautiful, let's see, KULR stock. There we go. They didn't have the beautiful earnings that we were looking forward to here in quarter three. And then when you take a look at some of their new earnings here and what's coming out, I don't know that they've had their quarter four, did they? It doesn't seem that they've reported the quarter four earnings just yet. Yep, I haven't seen it. But I can check and validate that. But as you can see on the ones that we have reported here, the revenue is low, around 2 to 3 million per quarter, but it is kind of increasing. So quarter one was 1.7, then it was 2.4, now it's 3.2. So it's increasing. Net income is up 63% year over year. It's green. The net profit margins up 65%. They're looking more green, but the net income still a little bit negative. Nothing too crazy, but starting to see some momentum in the financials potentially, at least when you look at it kind of quarter over quarter. So keep that in mind. Now, when you have the KULR stock, that's the financials. I would watch out. I'd want to see the net income become positive. That would be ideal for their company. If you take a look at KULR Tech, head over to their actual site. They have some new surfaces on their website. So they recently updated, it says KULR.ai. This is their, they changed their company look. So they've revamped it all. They got a rich 40-year heritage in advanced thermal management. You can see they have that there. You'd see they have the battery designs, okay, battery production, battery testing, some of their other stuff. They also have their customers here. So NASA, you got Lockheed Martin there, Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation. They can make those a little bigger. And check that out. They got a picture of a rocket launching into space, as well as some positions that they're hiring for. And I like their new website as well. They were pretty dated a little bit ago, but they just updated it this week. So that's key. Take a look over here, Bitcoin. They have their Bitcoin strategy mapped out, and I'm really glad that they've done this. They've outlined that they have this treasury and that they're really clear on their stance on Bitcoin, how it compares to gold, or how it compares to store of value or the markets or cash in general. And this is one of those things that will give you a better idea of why they're investing in Bitcoin. And I think everybody should have this as a kind of benchmark if they're going to do this as a company. One of the things that we're asking ourselves is, okay, are they going to let us know when they sell? Are they going to ever sell? Are they going to sell their own shares of stock in order to purchase Bitcoin? Because I don't know that I saw anything there that, you know, it says they're allocating into Bitcoin and it says gold, it says store of value. I like that. But what I also would like to know is, are they selling their own stock to purchase Bitcoin? Because if they are, they're diluting their own shares And it's not the best piece for investors, because if investors want to put money into Bitcoin, I mean, they're basically saying we think Bitcoin's going to appreciate more than our stock. If they're selling their stock to buy Bitcoin, then that's something you got to watch out for. So I want to know a little bit more. They got why they're in Bitcoin. They got increasing institutional adoption, which is good to educate people. But also, and KULR has committed 90% of surplus cash reserves. How about this? Tell us a little bit about the strategy. You got potential gains here. You got Bitcoin stands as treasury, okay. But let's hear a little bit more about it. Are they going to sell their own stock in order to buy Bitcoin? That's what I want to know. Because that's a concern. I mean, that's something I would want to know. I really like their new website. They have some of their NASA battery testing there. You can see their thermal setup. They make it way easier to check it out. So you got KULR Vibe. They also have a contract here with Army to provide KULR Vibe tech. Basically stabilizes the helicopters, drones, and things like that to be able to prevent extreme vibrations, which helps with basically making the vehicle not be so crash prone or not have as much mechanical issues, because vibrations oftentimes cause decay of the vehicle, or at least depreciation of it faster. So in a world that is constantly moving, balance and sustainability are everything. With KULR Vibe, we reduce vibration in current and next-gen technology in hundreds of applications, including aviation, transportation, renewable energy, wind, manufacturing, industrial performance, racing, and autonomous aerial drone applications. So that's pretty cool. You got a Marine Corps letter there. You can also see some of their partnerships that they have as a result of KULR Vibe. So they got a nice new website here. Again, that looks good. We'll be watching closely. When it comes down to investors and you take a look at their announcements, just recently on March 13th, they were selected for their M35 NASA certified batteries to be put into a private US space company, the space company of which wasn't disclosed. However, I did hear from someone that it wasn't SpaceX. That is actually a commenter on our channel. So that could be wrong, that could be right. I don't know where they found their information. The question I was asking was, if it's a private US space company, could either be Blue Origin or SpaceX or maybe another company. So that was the question. Why they didn't disclose which company it was, I'm not too sure. There's some things like that. That's a missing link in communication. Would also have a missing link with if they plan to intend to sell their stock in order to buy Bitcoin. That would be something I want to know. So they should share those things. Aside from that, they do have some new partnerships that are coming in. They're working on not only the Bitcoin reserve, obviously that's become a little bit more of a focus for the company, but they're working carbon fiber cathode license for a nuclear reactor application, I believe in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. This is in Japan. Yep, a nuclear reactor system in Japan. They're working, and it's covered there. According to Goldman Sachs, the data center energy demand is currently representing 1 to 2% of global demand and is projected to double by 2030. So they're basically saying they're working with a company that's doing nuclear energy that supports data centers for the development and rise of demands of AI applications. And that's the company that they're working for, and that they are enabling with advanced carbon fiber cathode applications. That's very cool. So they have these contracts that are coming in. Seems to be, I'm very excited about their new website because they needed that. And marketing, I mean, as you guys know, is like a big factor on whether or not a company has traction. And so we'll be watching that closely. This is the trend I think is developing, and we'll be looking for potentially taking advantage of this swing. Now, when it comes to the analysis, we went through financials, news, as well as the chart. When it comes to the third step is profit potential. You know, right now, I think I bought right here, right at the bottom when I saw pretty low risk compared to what we were looking at in the trend I'm identifying here to buy. Now it's confirmed a little bit, pulled back, or pushed up and pulled back, but I could see this trend potentially happening. If you see it as an opportunity there, then you might want to look for a slightly lower entry as it may retest. But when it comes down to this, it's a little bit less risk in my eyes compared to the upside, right? So essentially, you'd be looking around this level at around $1.50, maybe stop or somewhere in here, and looking to sell somewhere in this $2 range to $2.20 range. Now, that would be, of course, just the way that I'm approaching it. And when it comes down to the opportunities here, if any opportunities present themselves, we'll be watching at Market Open. If you guys want to join me live at Market Open, it's the second link in the description to watch me trade live. If I earned your thumbs up, hit that like button, comment your thoughts below on KULR. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.